Sibling rivalry is a universal human experience. Most of us grew up fighting over the front seat of the car or whose turn it was to do the dishes. But the very first recorded sibling rivalry in human history ended in murder. Adam and Eve had been exiled into a harsh, unyielding world just outside the Garden of Eden. There, they raised two sons. The older brother, Cain, worked the soil as a gardener and farmer. The younger, Abel, tended the flocks as a shepherd. As time passed, the two brothers approached God. They both brought an offering derived from the sweat of their own labor. Cain gathered the fruits of his harvest, while Abel brought a lamb from his flock. But the outcome of this worship was completely unexpected. God looked upon Abel and his offering with favor, accepting the lamb. But when he looked at Cain's fruit, the offering was rejected. On the surface, that raises a difficult question. Why would God choose one over the other? Both men worked hard, and both men brought the results of their labor. A closer look reveals that God's standard of acceptance has nothing to do with the physical items placed on the altar. He isn't grading the quality of the produce or the size of the lamb. He is evaluating the invisible, internal condition of the human heart making the offering. To understand Cain's failure, consider the mathematics of integrity. The root word integer means whole or undivided. Abel's offering was accepted because it was given with unbroken 100% devotion. Cain brought a fractioned offering. His outward actions were contradicted by a detached, divided heart. God explicitly points this out to him. He tells Cain that if he gives willingly, his offering will be accepted too. The issue was the fractioned attitude behind the fruit, rather than the fruit itself. Recognizing the danger, God intervenes with a question. Why are you angry? This serves as a divine warning, forcing Cain to confront his internal state before his emotions spiral out of control. A fractioned heart carries a heavy cost. That missing piece of devotion leaves behind a void, a dark, empty space where jealousy and resentment find room to breed. Here is where Cain makes his critical failure. Instead of looking inward to fix his own lack of integrity, he lets his resentment fester. He refuses to take responsibility for his divided devotion. In a textbook case of psychological projection, Cain takes his anger at God and projects it entirely outward, directing it squarely onto his innocent brother. The boiling tension finally spills over. Cain lures Abel out into a field, picks a quarrel with him, and commits the first murder in human history. God immediately confronts him, asking, "Where is Abel, your brother?" Cain answers with an infamous, callous lie. "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" That single sentence marks a total psychological break. Having discarded his integrity before God, Cain now treats his own brother's life as a matter of cold indifference. The fracture in his faith has become a fracture in his humanity. Unchecked jealousy is never a victimless internal emotion. It always demands an outlet. A divided heart will ultimately seek to destroy the wholeness of others. The crime cannot be hidden. God immediately exposes the lie, declaring that the voice of Abel's blood is crying out to him from the very ground Cain used to farm. And here lies the tragic irony of Cain's punishment. Rather than gaining the favor and peace that Abel enjoyed, Cain is cursed. He is physically marked by God and condemned to a life of complete wandering and isolation. This establishes a primary theological lesson that echoes throughout the rest of the biblical text. God bypasses outward appearances, the rituals, the words, the physical offerings, and looks directly at the raw condition of the human heart. For us today, the story serves as a stark diagnostic tool. When we feel the sudden spike of jealousy, rivalry, or bitterness towards someone else's success, we should treat those feelings as warning lights flashing on the dashboard of our own spiritual integrity. We have to examine our own lives and ask the hard questions. Are we bringing a fractioned, reluctant offering to our faith? Are we participating in our relationships with a divided mind? The story of Cain and Abel is a timeless mandate to master our resentments before they master us. It reminds us that our highest goal is to ensure our devotion to God and our empathy for others remains an unbroken, undivided whole. Sibling